Hello there guys, Daniel Childs back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Monday as we head into the World Cup break. In today's news video, the latest on Graham Potter's future after that Newcastle defeat and an interesting piece in The Athletic by Simon Johnson. Mason Mount's contract talks have stalled and that ridiculous interview by Cristiano Ronaldo last night that we kind of have to have a little bit of a reaction to because it kind of does link back to Chelsea back in the summer. So we'll go into that as well in today's news video and podcast as well, because Son of Chelsea is a part of the 90 Min Podcast Network. Thank you if you are listening on the podcast feed. The first two podcasts have been reviews of the last two games. This is sort of the first news video, so please give it a rate and review. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads over the World Cup on the channel, and hit that like button too because it helps new people find the content as well. But let's get into it. Reaction to that Newcastle defeat here. Simon Johnson in The Athletic. Some Chelsea fans are losing patience with Potter, but he has the club's total backing. In this piece that was released earlier today, The Athletic sources, who need to maintain anonymous in order to protect their jobs, have made it clear the club's new owner's support for Potter and the long-term project they share is unwavering. Indeed, this was communicated to Potter just a few days ago. Before anyone misconstrues this, Simon Johnson says, it should not be mistaken for a vote of confidence, the phrase which has often been used when a manager is on the verge of the sack. We have seen that a lot. That statement comes out and then a few weeks later they've been officially sacked. We haven't got that here. This is a report about sort of the new owners. It's also been reported by Nazar Kinsella. He wrote a similar piece today. And I'm sure Adam Newsom will be reporting something for Football London as well regarding that in the coming days, because it's the right decision. It's the right method. Chelsea paid a lot of money to get Graham Potter out of Brighton in September when they decided to sack Thomas Tuchel then. A very big decision. It's still divisive. A big decision that was massively divisive at the time. It still is now if you listen to Chelsea fans who kind of are upset that Tuchel was sacked in the first place, especially regarding recent results. You hand him a 5-year deal. You speak about communication. You think about the long term. And to just sack him now would look so chaotic. In a year that has been full of chaos for Chelsea, we don't need another coaching change yet. We just don't. And it's just would be so foolish. And it's ridiculous to me in just terms of like time scale. When I think about Graham Potter's first league game, I said this in my Newcastle review yesterday. His first league game coaching Chelsea was against Crystal Palace on the first weekend of October. We're just over a month away since that, his first league game. It was only quite recently that he'd qualified from the Champions League group stage, finishing top against Red Bull Salzburg, going into that Brighton game where it started to go horrendously wrong. Sure, for Chelsea, this has happened before. I remember, Frank Lampard's second season, it went horrendously wrong in the space of a couple of weeks. And a lot of clubs are dealing with this now, this congested schedule. Chelsea are not unique to that. But there has to be mitigating factors, and to just make a snap judgment over a short period of time whether Graham Potter is the coach of Chelsea or he's not, I just think is flippant. I think we have to have a bigger sample size. And if you're looking and sort of dismissing all of the problems that, say, Tuchel dealt with in the first half of the year, the chaos behind the scenes, the upheaval, the injuries that he suffered with, a lot of those similar things Potter is dealing with now. They are mitigating factors, and they're not just excuses. It's not just we say all the players are injured, so Chelsea should attack really badly against Newcastle and can just perform like really poorly. No one's making that argument, but it is an explanation. It is talking about things and looking at things in a wider perspective. And I think we have to see more from Graham Potter. He has to, and I stressed this yesterday and I'll stress this again, he has to, like any of the coaches that have got trust in the Premier League at top clubs in recent years, has to earn that trust and patience by results, by improvement, by performances that give you encouragement, players looking like they're getting better under his coaching. Those are obvious things with any coach. It's not just that you give him blind faith and we keep on losing week in, week out with no sign of improvement. Obviously, that's a different story. But there have been mitigating factors, and Chelsea have played some very good teams in recent weeks. To expect Chelsea to just roll up and breeze past them was always going to be foolish, particularly with the injuries and the lack of confidence we already had going into those games. So it's nice to know that there's no kind of knee-jerk reaction despite the negativity online. I'm glad about that. Obviously, Potter now has to reflect. He has to improve things, and Chelsea have to get back to form when they return on the 27th of December against Bournemouth. That's clear, because we need to start getting results in the Premier League. Before I do get into the Mason Mount contract talks, let's just briefly touch on that Ronaldo interview. I don't have tons to say about it. But you know my stance if you're watching the channel over the summer when the original links about Cristiano Ronaldo came up. I think I was even on 90 Min when I was asked about it regarding that transfer, that potential transfer. And it was a bad idea then. It's a bad idea now. And this interview sums it up. It says a lot about Cristiano Ronaldo and how he comes out of this, in my opinion. The reaction I have seen, not just from, say, Man United supporters, but just generally, has been negative towards Ronaldo than it has been negative towards Manchester United. He looks like the bad guy in this situation. Particularly with the way Erik ten Hag has quite clearly improved Man United and they've got some good results. And it's the individual over the collective. And that is exactly the opposite of what Chelsea need currently. The idea that Ronaldo should come into Chelsea in January and we should, it's the classic Chelsea short-termism of, the superstar, chasing the superstar, all the things that are being criticised about Chelsea's sort of recruitment structure right now. I think Ronaldo embodies that. So why would we keep on making those mistakes? He tactically doesn't fit what we want to do as a club. As a personality, I think he's been massively negative for Man United this season, and I think it's of credit to Ten Hag that he's made big decisions and hasn't sort of cowed to that as I think previous head coaches might have at Man United. So yeah, this is like the final nail in the coffin for him really in terms of his career, I think, at the top level, and it'd be absolutely stupid for Chelsea to go in January and think that they can revive Ronaldo or there's something left there. He can keep doing interviews with Piers Morgan, who's his biggest fan, right? That's fine. He can keep on doing that. Chelsea don't need him, and that's just the end of the story for me regarding that. Before we do wrap up, Mason Mount. So this report again in the Telegraph, Mike McGrath here, not Matt Law. Mason Mount contract talks reach stalemate with 18 months left on Chelsea deal. Mason Mount is set to enter the last 18 months of his Chelsea deal without agreeing new terms after stalemate in contract talks over extending his time at Stamford Bridge. The England midfielder, 23, has been in discussion since the summer over fresh terms at the club. He has spent his entire career, although there is yet to be a breakthrough. He's understood there is work to be done to get closer to an agreement with hopes that he can follow his teammate Reece James in signing. Obviously, I think when the new ownership came in, Reece and Mason were like the two big contract talks that needed to happen and he needed to be finalised. September, we got the announcement that Reece James had signed a contract. Massive news for the club to kind of guarantee the future of that player for a long term. Mason is the next one. He has not had a good season. And listen, I'm a big fan of Mason Mount because since he's come into Chelsea, when he broke through, he has been one of our most consistent performers in years when older players who were bought maybe for bigger fees did not offer that for Chelsea. He has performed on some big stages for Chelsea already. It's just ridiculous to me. He's only 23 and he's already done a lot at Chelsea. He's won Player of the Year 2 years in a row. I don't think he should have won it last year, but it's not like he had an awful season last year and there was a reason why people voted for him. Particularly 2020-21, I thought he was incredible that year for his age and obviously the influence in the Champions League run. I think at the moment he kind of is in this middle ground where there's been a change in head coach again and it's kind of like, what's his best position? Because he's been sort of moved forward under Thomas Tuchel, where I think he did a lot of great work, but there still is an argument that him as a number 8, can he be moved back into central midfield where he started under Frank Lampard, and apparently where the player himself sees his future, because he does play there a little bit more for England, and obviously we'll see how he fares at the World Cup. But he still has had good moments this season. I think like a lot of players, he's just lacked that consistency, and there is a fear that he's been run into the ground because he has played so much football over recent years, and I wouldn't mind seeing him get more of a rest, and some other players have to step up for Chelsea, but we will see. But these talks are still important, make no doubt about it. Chelsea securing the future of Mason Mount is huge. Everything he's done so far, some of the records he's broken, how important he's been to several head coaches at Chelsea, all of the head coaches have made him a key part of their plans, and I don't think that's going to change. So hopefully a breakthrough can be made, and we don't have this go on any longer. It's not as, say, dramatic as like the N'Golo Kante or Jorginho contract situations which expire next summer, but it is key for Chelsea. It really is, and hopefully, like Reece James, they can get that sorted heading into the new year. But that is it for today's news video. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch or listen to it on the podcast. I'll be back again soon with some more content. Got my Q&A coming out this week. You guys asked a lot of questions on my Twitter at SonOfChelsea and also my YouTube community page. So happy to dive into those because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting questions after recent weeks. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.